Hey, welcome back to another episode. This week on Sports, of course, Brady and the Bucs brawl ignites a fire. Are the Bengals lost in the jungle? And could RPF truly be RPF Stradamus? You can find us everywhere you find your podcast listening pleasures. My guess is if you're listening to us now, you probably know where you're listening to us on. So we can also find us on Instagram and Twitter just by searching Sports, of course. And if you are listening to us, be sure to check out our YouTube channel. That is Sports, of course, with Jonah and RPF over on YouTube. I am one of your hosts, Jonah. With me, as always, is my man RPF, and I know RPF is very excited about today. I don't even need to get into it just yet, but he's here, and he's always here to help. And RPF, the floor is yours, my friend.
I want to say, look, I'm kind of still in a state of shock from week 2. I mean, I'm still kind of like, we recorded this on Tuesday, and I'm still kind of like walking on air. I don't even remember what happened yesterday. I was still kind of like buzzing in my ears as I've been sick lately, so I'm thinking I had a fever dream the entire day, and this didn't happen. So anyway, I can't wait to get into it. It's going to be fun.
It's been a while. It's been really wild.
It's almost like the first round of the playoffs. Remember last year when everything was
It's been really crazy. I'm curious to know if it has, if this is again going back to like residual effects of sort of cutting down on preseason, but like it's just like it's madness. Like you cannot predict games, and it's like even star players. I play fantasy football, and my teams are awful because I have like star players that are just not doing anything, and it's insane. We'll obviously
get into it. Yeah, because I was just going to say that. Well, later on we'll talk about it, but there's 21 teams that are 1-1. So really, no one's out of it. In some ways, perhaps even only the Bengals are maybe out of it, which is
which we will touch upon for sure. All right, so let's do a quick little recap. I've got a couple of games of note that I kind of had on the top of my mind. The first one being Thursday feels like a month ago, right about now.
Yeah.
But if we go back to the Thursday game, which was Chiefs Chargers, man, it was a good game. It was close, and the Chiefs just kind of squeaked one out, and it just led me to the question of are the Chiefs, are they all that scary anymore?
No.
I don't think so.
I think they're really good. I don't think they're scary, which I think makes it more interesting. I don't think they're going to be like walking around like cock of the walk like they used to. I think they're going to be. I mean, I think the impact going to be felt that Tyreek Hill left. I mean, it's been feeling, you feel it now, kind of. So but it makes it more competitive, it makes it more fun for non-Chiefs fans. But I think they're going to come back to earth a little bit, and the NFL's coming up to them a little bit. That division's still anyone's game, I think. So
yeah, the way I kind of see it analyze it is like this. It's like your head coach, right? And when you're getting ready for a game, your head coach, no matter who you're playing, always says very stoically, like, hey, it's going to be a really tough competition this week. It's like in the past, it was when teams were going to Kansas City, the coach would be like, hey, Kansas City's a really good team. We're going to put together a good effort. I don't think the Jaguars
coach was saying this is going to be a competitive game. just don't die.
But hang on. No. Here's my point. Here's my point is that the coach is like, hey, it's going to be they're a really good team, blah, blah, blah. And the players in the past were like, we ain't going to win.
Yeah.
Whereas now I think that it's shifted to where the coach says the same exact speech and the players go, all right, let's go get it.
Any given Sunday, baby.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think so.
And then, of course, I had the Giants win again. Giants. And that led me to the question of, could this possibly be their year? And let me follow that up with my own answer. I wrote that question before the Phillies Vikings game last night, and Philly came out. Philly looked phenomenal last night.
Oh, yeah. I thought you said the Phillies, which is the Eagles. But anyway,
I'm sorry.
I was like, we're cross pollinating.
Philadelphia. Yeah. Okay. Yes. No. Of course. Eagles game. I wrote that before the Eagles game. They came out and looked exceptional last night. Defense and offense was just on point. So I watched that game and I was like, maybe
everyone this morning's on the bandwagon. Eagles and Bills in the Super Bowl. Everyone's like saying,
but the Eagles almost historically. I'm not quite there, but the I mean, the Bills, holy shit.
Yeah, but yeah, it's true. But to go back to the Giants, I think I'm enjoying it. I mean, the Giants, we've mentioned before, they're kind of like this heartbreak team that, kind of like, even though I hate all New York teams historically because I'm from Boston and Miami, so, natural born enemies. But the Giants have always had the sweet spot, not the least of which because they beat the dreaded Patriots twice in Super Bowl. But and Eli Manning, I mean, you're not even breathing or have a pulse if you don't like Eli Manning. He's just the biggest goofball / superstar ever in football, I think, which I just tend to like that type of guy. But the Giants this year, I mean, the honeymoon may not be quite over. Like, they're playing in the next few weeks. They're playing the Cowboys, the Bears, the Jags. Who knows with this year? So, we could be looking at their bye week and they're like 9-2 or something. It's insane. So, of course, the Nick can go on to lose the next 7. So, it's
right.
anything happens this year in football. But the Giants, I don't see they have the pieces to be good. Yet here they are. They sit at 2-0 with only 5 or 6 unbeaten teams. So, it's interesting. Yeah. I think
very interesting.
Yeah.
And then next up on my list was I had the Jags 24-0 over the Colts, and I'm like, we all know how
the Jags can't beat the Bills cheerleaders 24-0. So I don't know how this happened.
I am baffled. We all know how I felt about Carson Wentz, and I just don't think he's that good. And so when I was like, oh, Matt Ryan instead of Carson Wentz, layup. Like,
you said playoff team over the Dolphins. I just want to remind you of this.
I did, and it's like, holy bonkers, man! Like,
yeah,
really?
Well, here's the thing. The preview was last year, like in January, the last game, I think it was week 17 or something. They beat the Colts 23-11 or something. So I'm thinking, well, that could be the anomaly of the end of the year. And, although the Colts were going for a playoff spot and they lost to the Jags. So that was kind of a red flag alert, number one.
Very true.
Number two is the fact that they lost. I mean, anyone who loses 24-0 to the current Jaguars, I don't know what is there left to say. I mean, short of just like phoning it in and playing for the top draft pick already. I mean, I don't know. It was just. First of all, did you see any of the game? It was just baffling.
I did not. I did not.
It wasn't like the Jags came out and looked like, all of a sudden they became this team. They were like stumbling and bumbling to the end zone, and the Colts were like, okay, yeah, it's over there. Just make a left, Yeah. I mean, I don't know what's going on. But I would not want to be a Colts fan this week. So,
No. Wait, no. Gosh, no. And then up next, I got the storyline here. I got the Niners 27-7 over the Seahawks, but obviously never wish injury upon anyone. Trey Lance went out with a brutal ankle injury.
I called it though. I said Trey Lance is not gonna. I think Jimmy G is gonna be like,
I mean, it's tough, right? Because when I didn't want to predict that Trey Lance wouldn't make it through the season because he was going to break an ankle.
No.
But I guess, my question is, Jimmy G takes the reins early in the game and they just kind of started clicking a little bit. And so does this in your mind make the 49ers more of a favorite to go farther in the playoffs?
Well, I'm reluctant to say because last year or 2 years ago, or the last year, it's all kind of gelling together. Yeah. But when Ryan Fitzpatrick would come off the bench from the Dolphins, and Tua would like having an average half, and then all of a sudden, Brian Flores would call him, and it would just spark the team because he's like this grizzly old veteran, and he was like playing out of his mind well, and he would throw the ball up in the air, and we would catch it. So it would be like this kind of mythological figure that came in. Jimmy G doesn't have that type of gravitas or lore about him, but I think he himself understands that this is his chance to say to the NFL, "F you, not only am I a pocket top 10 quarterback, how am I backing up anybody?"
True.
And, so in that sense, again, injuries never wish upon anyone, but he's going to step into this opportunity and say, I would not want to play the Niners the next few weeks. I think they're going to be really good. And because of Jimmy G.
Yeah. Well, why just the next few weeks?
Just because I think all of a sudden the opposing teams will kind of get the schemes going to defend. Because Jimmy G, what happened with the Dolphins before when we played them, we had lots of time. We had a bye week and a trip to the West Coast to prepare for him, and we shut him down. Because I think it's a matter of if coaches have enough time to kind of, because he doesn't. What he's good at, he's great, but he's predictable in some ways. And that's why he hasn't been to that next level yet. And I think that's what he needs to work on, or has been working on, maybe. We'll see. But as long as you have Samuel and an upright Jimmy G, anything's possible back there. So in Niners. So I'd be feeling pretty optimistic if I was out there by the Bay.
Yeah. I think Lance.
By the way, who wouldn't take Jimmy G as a backup quarterback in the NFL?
Yeah,
I mean, any team would take that.
Yeah, for sure. I had Lance as sort of the, he's the wild card, and could the team be better with him? They could, but I think this year, the team will be more successful with Jimmy G.
Yeah, I think this is a one and out year. Jimmy G's gone next year, so this is a year. Yeah.
And that's kind of my point. Is I think until to what you were saying is I think he's kind of got that fire up his ass, screw all you guys. Watch this.
Well, I think his agent
hold my beer.
His agent is like rubbing the two sticks under his ass to make sure that he understands, because he gets paid too. So I think that's going to be interesting. I think Jimmy G's, first of all, after week 2, he can actually just close his eyes and pick a spot on the NFL map, and they'll probably take him. Because there's very few.
The Colts
quarterbacks, right? Starting with the Colts, of course. My goodness, the Colts. Okay.
Yeah. All right, and then the last big note I had on the week 2 recap was the Bengals lost again.
Yeah, I mean,
you say but they lost.
I don't think it's panic time yet. Look, I think honestly speaking, nothing's different from the Super Bowl Bengals. What's different is that they're still not keeping him upright. They're one offensive lineman, one right tackle away from running the board again. I think they haven't lost the games by 50 points. They're not doing that. They need to keep their stud upright for one more second. That's all it is. Get yourself a fat boy up front and keep him upright for one more second, and let him and he can show you what he does. I wouldn't be panicking yet if I was a Bengal fan. I mean, I wouldn't be in this code red alarm. Although no 0-2 team has gone to the playoffs in a long time, so it's interesting. Or conversely, are they the best 0-2 team ever?
There you go.
I think that could be an argument to be had there, because
they've
been unlucky. Look, and remember, they were an extra point away from being 1-1. So let's not get crazy here.
Right. So. No, they definitely had some crazy games, but it's
okay.
shocking.
Enough of this shit. Can we get to the Dolphins, please?
Oh no, they're not next. No, they're not next.
I'm like, are you kidding me? The greatest game in our 50-year history, and I'm sitting here on my hands talking about the friggin' Bengals. I mean, come on. Okay.
All right. No, we're gonna. I was saving that for last, man, because I know it's a big one for you.
Okay.
All right. So let's get into a bigger story that I think.
A bigger story, like what?
Than what we've been talking about is what I'm talking.
The Queen's funeral. Okay.
So the Bucs go into the Saints.
Yeah.
And they win. And a couple of things here. One, I didn't even realize this, but until they said it, and then I thought about it, I was like, oh my gosh, that's right. Is that Tom Brady hasn't beaten the Saints since being a Buck. Right. And I was like, really? It was kind of one of those
it's an anomaly.
Moments.
It's one of these kind of outlier that doesn't make any sense to me.
Right. And so they go in. Saints, they go into New Orleans, and it's 3-3 for I think until the fourth quarter. Going into the fourth quarter, and then there's this huge brawl. There's this eruption. There's what appeared to be some pretty severe pass interference, in my opinion, going down. They didn't call it. Tom Brady's heated, and then Lattimore kind of jars at him, and Tom jars right back.
He lit the fuse here. I mean, let's be sure.
Then Mike Evans comes in out of just left field and just boom, steamrolls him.
Mike Evans has a career in UFC, dude. He has a
And I was one of the feeds I was watching had showed the ref and Mike Evans talking together, and you could hear them, and you can hear Mike Evans say,
It's
Tom Brady. What do you think I was going to do? Of course I'm just
like, that's my paycheck right there. Yeah. My paycheck, right.
But the deeper story to me is, so it was 3-3 at that moment. Mike Evans gets ejected. So now Tom Brady has no Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin, no Julio Jones, not to mention a couple other players. And
Gronk. Kidding.
And they go on to put up 17 points. And so
I know.
Was this, it's not uncommon for there to be little catalyst moments within a season, right? And I'm very curious to know if this was one of those. Like they go into a team.
I think this was adrenaline, and this was like. But then again, look, you're playing Winston. He's a quarterback on the other side. The guy throws 33 interceptions last year. He's not. And that's what he did. He gave up the ball 3 straight times to the Bucs. So it wasn't like they were playing Mahomes all of a sudden, and then they became this team. I don't know. I'm not convinced yet. I think Tampa Bay is still rusty. I think Tom Brady is still playing preseason. I don't think they're in sync still. I think they were lucky. By the way, the Saints. I mean, that's just an outlier.
Well, I would have said that. I would have said that anyway, but they've never beaten them.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's just, to me, that's an outlier. That's just like a weird asterisk in the realm of life. That's just crazy. I'm not unlike the Colts and the Jaguars twice in a row. I think that's kind of crazy. But the Bucs, I mean, again, not unlike the Chiefs. I think they come back to earth. They're a really good team, clearly, but they're not like, oh my God. It's not like, oh shit, we're playing the Bucs. I think that's only reserved right now for the Bills. I think the Bills are the team that people are going to be like, oh shit, we're playing the Bills. Which, by the way, guess who plays the Bills?
I know.
Can we get to Miami now?
Yeah, we can get there. We can get there. One quick question.
Yes.
Brady's fuse looked awfully short. Like you said, he instigated all that.
Cranky old man. He's get off my lawn, dude. He's becoming the get off my lawn, dude.
Right,
the old man with a shotgun.
Right.
To the kids, get off my lawn.
Do we need, like, as a Bucs fan, do all Bucs fans need Giselle to keep fucking pushing buttons?
Yes, they need Giselle, and they need some Metamucil on the sidelines to balance his moods. He definitely needs some Geritol or whatever they take. He needs to just look. He needs to remind himself that he's Tom Brady, and then take a breath. Okay, just chill out. It's going to be fine. It always works out for that golden boy. So he's just calm the fuck down. Okay.
All right, RPF, we will get into your Dolphins. Next storyline I have. So obviously your Dolphins are the centerpiece of the storyline, but the overall cover storyline that I have is, what the hell is with all of these comebacks in the NFL? This is absurd. It's like, and even the teams, so there's been 0 teams last year came back from a 20-point deficit. And that happened twice this weekend. And even the teams that don't come back and win, they're still I'm sitting here and I'm watching football, and like on the tickers, it's like halftime. And it's like, 24-0. And you're like, oh, okay, that game's over. And then all of a sudden you're watching your game in the fourth quarter, and on the ticker, it's like, 27-24. And you're like, wait, what? It's
nothing, no game to blow out anymore. No team's out of it now.
Nothing is off the charts. But go ahead. Let us hear it.
My brother, who's like one of our loyal listeners, shout out to Willie.
He's the one
in the 305. But he's a huge Dolphins fan also. But he's also very much analytical. And he took offense to me saying last week or week 1 of the podcast this season that the Ravens had a good secondary. And that was based only on the analysis of what they were because they were terrible last year in the secondary, and then they upgraded so much that all these analysts, including everything I read on ESPN,
I agree,
Axios and on the Athletic, they all said huge improvement. Everyone's great. Yep. Of course, come to find out, everyone got hurt, so no one's playing again. So they're back to being terrible. So I had a hunch that this could be the game that Tua steps up. Admittedly, by halftime, I sat there thinking, okay. And I was on Twitter, looking at Twitter, because I couldn't respond to all, because, I told you that the Miami fan base has this like weird fascination of destroying its own, right? So all of a sudden, they'd rather lose the game and have Tua look terrible than be wrong, it's a bit like, it's just it's a crazy phenomenon. Not everyone, of course, but just these Tua haters. All right. So at halftime, so I'm sitting there with Marco, and Marco's like walking by. He sits down. He's watching the game, which is unusual in itself. And I'm like, and he said, "Oh, they're still in it." I'm like, "Have you met the Dolphins in the past 50 years? I mean, the Dolphins. I'll put it to you this way: if the Dolphins were winning by 21, I'd be nervous still.
Right.
That's how it's gone lately for us.
Yeah.
And then the cockiness of the Ravens when they went for it on fourth down. And Lamar Jackson, which by the way played like an MVP, and then the best line I heard was like Lamar Jackson played like an MVP and Tua outplayed him. That's for Tua to do what he did with the weapons. He just confirms, and not to say I was right. It's a long season ahead of us, and he could have a hangnail next week, and all goes to hell when Teddy Bridgewater tries to come in. But I'm saying I've always said this, and I think I've been consistent. You give him one more weapon, you give him one more second upright, and you'll see what he can do. And that's what happened. That's what happened. He was upright for one more second, and he has Cheetah. We have Tyreek Hill. So what happens? Well, off to the races. Mark Duper and Clayton and Marino. It recalled that when every play was going for 40 yards. I mean, I was literally like, I had lost oxygen to my brain by the time this game was, because it was like 3rd and 6 and goal. And I'm thinking, okay, we're going to tie because he's going to drop, whatever. We're going to have a field goal and then we'll lose in overtime. I'm always a fatalist for the Dolphins, as you well know, watching, when we watch the games together. You're the one giving me hope, but I'm always the one. Right. No, after the first play, first of all, after the first play, it was a 103-yard kick return for a touchdown by the Ravens. I said, okay, this is over already. This is going to be a long-ass day for me. And but then Tua came back right away and found Waddle in the end zone. I was like, okay, maybe we're doing something right this year. Long story short, we were 21 points down with 12 minutes left in the game, and we came back and scored. And we outscored them 28-3 in the fourth quarter. That just doesn't happen. It just doesn't.
It doesn't.
That's elite quarterback shit, and that is what I'm talking about. Not one game doesn't negate everything, and we're not going to throw for 500 yards every game. But I'm just telling you, with those weapons and some weaker teams, 400 yards could be the new standard for 300 yards was just 5 years ago. So I think this could be off to the races. And Gesicki is thriving under this. And so is, and Waddle is the beneficiary of double coverage from Tyreek. It's all functioning. Yeah. And Mike McDaniel, the new coach, cannot be understated. His play calling, I mean, just even that when we were on the 4-yard line, and in 6 plays, we 6 consecutive plays, we went to 96 yards. And all of it was schemed by McDaniel. You can see it. It's all rolling left, and then Waddle to the right, end zone to the left. It was so playing to Tua's strengths for a coach to understand who he has as a quarterback. It was just, for someone who understands football, who literally saw how this was breaking down, and Tyreek Hill was used perfectly, both as a weapon and a target and as a decoy. It couldn't have gone better. And Tua, by the way, what's his strength? What did everyone say? He's so accurate. When they dropped 9 deep in the red zone, Baltimore they had 2 rushers. They dropped 9 deep to cover everybody. What happens? He throws the ball the only spot available, high end zone for his 6'6" tight end, who had a vertical leap of 10 feet. So, and that's
pretty good.
I'm saying this is at his best. This is what Tua does. Now, he still had 2 picks. He still had some boneheaded moments, as a younger quarterback does. But as a cumulatively, cooked dinner, this was a tasty dinner, because it was Tyreek and it was Waddle doing what they do the best. Anyway, so it was fun to watch. And here's the best part about it: the defense didn't show up. Our defense didn't show up until kind of like in spots, fourth, on the goal line, 4th and 1. But they had this accordion kind of elasticity. Lamar Jackson threw for 300 yards or more, and then we had 100+ yards running. It was not a defense that we recognize. So imagine when the defense says, well, we got to do our part here. When those 2 halves of the team get together, I don't know how quickly we can do that, because this week we're playing Buffalo. So that's going to be the real interesting game to me. In Miami, which helps us, obviously. So it's going to be anyway, so that's the whole analysis. I mean, I just think one more playmaker, one more second, and this is what we did. This is it's admittedly more than I thought we would do, but this was what I've been trying to get to, and finally I think we're there, so it's exciting.
Yeah,
and bottom line, Tua's for real, the Dolphins are for real, and we're going to see what happens now, because that's going to be, by the way, the first 4 games, people were saying it's going to be the 0-4, because we played the Patriots, we're playing the Bills, we're playing, the Ravens, and then we play the Bengals in Cincinnati.
Hang on. No one, myself included, no one said you're losing to the Patriots.
Well, they said it could be the roughest 4 games. It could be 1-3, or we got to find a win there. I'm like, if we don't beat the Patriots, we're not winning. We're not beating anybody. So
I mean, don't get me wrong. I am also on cloud 9 this weekend because we won.
Believe me, you guys won. But I will tell you, this early season turnaround in 10 days, playing the Bills, and then on Thursday playing the Bengals in Cincinnati, could be from there. We play teams that are on paper beatable, right? There's the Bears, and then there's the Giants, and then there's the Jets, and then so it could go into a whole different exciting direction for Miami, or we can come back to earth a little bit. So we'll see what happens. But I'm just excited about finally being talked about as a team with a little bit more respect, and all he needed was just one more second and one more playmaker, and we have it now. So I definitely they definitely jumped notches in my belt, in my when I let's call it power rankings, if you will. Listen, I don't care who you are, I don't care what excuses you have, when you come back from 21-point deficit, like you're doing great things. The one thing that really did jump out to me, though, is that Ravens defense. And in baseball, late in the game, there's a term for the outfielders called no doubles. And that's when you play way out by the wall so they can't hit the ball past you. Now, if I'm the Ravens and I have a lead like that, and the other team has Tyreek Hill, I cannot for the life of me understand why they don't just put your safety at the goal line, make him like a kick returner. I'm like, Tyreek Hill was like 30 yards behind their secondary. No, look, I get all that, and that's all valid points, obviously. But I've heard this a lot. But if this, and I'm being honest, and I'm not being sensitive, if this was Mahomes or Herbert who did this, or Burrow, no one would be saying that. They'd be like, "Oh my God,
no,
these quarterbacks are elite. These quarterbacks are the real thing."
No.
And you're saying both things. You're saying the defense was. You're saying Tua's great.
No. I didn't even mention a quarterback. I don't care who's throwing it. I don't care who the quarterback is. But this criticism, I'm talking about receivers and secondary.
I understand. But this criticism I heard a lot from the Ravens defense versus giving Tua the praise that he I think admittedly that he deserves. And that happened because people can't get off the fact that Tua is not a slinger for 90 yards. In the air, you don't need to throw 90 yards when you guys can catch it at 50 and run for the other 50.
But that's not what I'm saying. So
I know.
So
let's
not talk about that here.
Okay,
you can save that for the people that say that to you elsewhere.
Stephen A. Smith. That's
sure.
My target.
Fine. Let's get him on the horn.
You probably would pick up the phone.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying, my point is this. My point is the quarterback deserves praise. So no matter how far beyond the secondary your receiver is, the quarterback still gets praise for acknowledging that and making the throw in stride and giving him delivering the ball. Totally. I'm not. This is again. Right. I'm not taking anything from.
But the defense was baffling at best.
I'm not taking anything from the Dolphins. They were very, like I said, any team that comes back from that deficit is very impressive.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, at some point, you get burned the first time, right? And as the coaches for the Ravens, don't you just go, okay, guys, do not get burned again. Whatever happens, keep him in front of you.
Can you imagine that meeting today in the Ravens defensive back meeting? I would not want to have that breakout meeting.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
It's exciting,
but the Patriots, the Patriots beat the Steelers unexpectedly in many ways.
We don't. I appreciate you trying to involve me in the excitement of the weekend.
Well, you're 1-1. You're 1-21 teams.
This has been all of this has been perfectly queued up. Like sometimes I just think like the NFL just like scripts all this. This has been perfectly queued up, like you mentioned previously, for the Bills Dolphins matchup this weekend, like coming into this weekend. So it'll be pretty awesome. But aside from the Dolphins, real quick, with all these comebacks, we had the Arizona Cardinals, come back from 20. I forget what they were. Yeah, I think it was 20.
I'm going to give you my it's coming up on one of my things to tell you.
It was like that game. I was watching that game. It was bonkers, and it was
that was the bonus coverage, I think, for the national.
Yeah. They came back, but to me, the most impressive comeback of the day was the Jets coming back on the Browns. Now, it wasn't as big of a differential. It was 30-17 they came back from.
But with a minute left.
But it was the Jets.
That was also a minute left. A minute 12 or something. So I think, also, again, I think that tells you more about the Browns than the Jets in some ways.
Sure.
And Flacco was pissed from being mocked as insignificant from week 1, so he kind of got his back up. And the Browns realized they don't have any playmakers whatsoever. So, and they just woke up from their fever dream as well. So the Jets and Browns are essentially going to be now. The Jaguars look elite in that troika compared to the Browns and Jets at this point. But I think it's going to be interesting. Look, it's going to be a lot of fighting for the middle. That's what I mentioned way back in the first episode. When we're talking about the Broncos and how the big noise about the quarterback and the whole thing, I think it's going to be a lot of like noise about the middle. I think it's going to be 4 or 5 teams only going to be really rising above. And that surprise team for me, again, no surprise to you, it's the Dolphins for me, possibly, and yours was the Colts. So we'll talk about that as we go. But the Jets, look, I give them their props. Our division in the AFC East are 2-0, 2-0, 1-1, 1-1. So that's not what we expected at this point. So.
No, it's not. No, it's not on many levels. Right. And then, of course, there's not to mention the countless other comebacks that I brought up earlier that teams have come back from major deficits. They didn't win, they didn't pull it off, but it's just everyone's in games.
Like the Lions won this week too, and all these other. I mean, it's just really interesting. It's really been interesting.
Quite madness, okay. Quite madness. And speaking of madness, we're going to get into this week on.
It's We have to get the emoji.
We do. This week and this one kind of trickles into last week a little bit. It's been brewing. It's been brewing.
Well,
so this week
you stole mine. This is going to be mine too.
This is how bad it is.
I had to change mine when I saw yours. I was like, okay.
This is how bad it is. All right, head coach Nathaniel Hackett for the Broncos. What are you doing?
Russell Wilson saved his job this week.
Oh my gosh! All right, so I had to jot some notes down because the scenarios are so outrageous. All right, week 1, he lets 40 seconds drift off the clock. He has a timeout. They have timeout available.
You want to have fun? Go to YouTube and look at Eli and Peyton Manning's reaction to the 40 seconds drifting off the clock. Peyton was just losing his mind. He was like, "What is he doing?" He's like. He's like what's it called? Omaha. Right. He was like,
yeah. No, I need to. I haven't been watching their shows. I love their shows. But I haven't been following. But yes, no. So he lets 40 seconds run off the clock for what? So his field goal. So his kicker can attempt a 64-yard field goal.
Chip shot in golf, but yes.
What on earth? All right. So that was pretty bad. Now fast forward to week 2. All right. In the first half, he's got a couple blunders. In the first half, they're 4th and 1.
Yeah, my God.
He can't make up his mind on whether to go for it. There's the 4th at the goal line. 4th and 1 at the goal line. So he's like, I don't know what to do.
Russell Wilson was like, dude, seriously.
Delay a game, 4th and 6, forced to kick a field goal. All right. Second half. Second, this is where it gets real squirrely.
He might be a Pisces. I have to look up his astrological sign.
Is that
Pisces
what it is?
Yeah, because they're fish. They can't decide which way to go. They're just like roll.
Got it.
Yeah, the Pisces cannot decide anything.
Second half, 3rd and 1. He runs a running play with his fullback. Doesn't make it. Goes to 4th and 2. Leaves his offense on the field to run another play to go for it, and then abruptly changes his mind, puts the field goal unit out there. Kicker nails the field goal, but not before a delay of game, which pushes them back, and then they have to punt. So he went from 3rd and 1 to punting to 4 and 6 to punting.
I'm telling you, Russell Wilson pulled that game out the only way he had the job still. Because honestly, game management is just, isn't this like fundamental, like 101 BS? Like you learn this in Madden when you're like, you're playing Madden.
Right. My 13-year-old nephew who's playing Madden, Xbox Madden, knows how to manage the clock better than this.
Right. Exactly. It's really bad. But so that was mine, by the way.
Okay.
So
because
it's
a great one.
Hackett for me. Well, Nathaniel Hackett. I just wanted to say that name. Was my number 1 pick for this week. But I'll give you another one. The Raiders were up 23-7, as we mentioned, to the Cardinals, right? 12:24 remaining. Derek Carr threw three incompletions for a 3 and out when that happened. Why is he throwing the ball 3 times with 12:30 something left? Yeah. Meanwhile, the people in the stands, you see this video, they're all popping champagne in Vegas and they're all like drinking and they're all like screaming, carrying on, all the Raiders fans. All right.
Oh, geez.
So the Cards, of course, immediately capitalized and scored a touchdown, cutting the lead to 23-15, cut to overtime. Which, by the way, that last drive by the Cardinals is insane. And it was like Murray at 4th down, he got it, and the 2-point conversion was barely made. It was anyway.
There was a point where I think they had the play clock going, and I think the play lasted 20 seconds because Kyler Murray was just like,
just like
back and then over here
and wobbling and totally. McDaniels, the coach of the Raiders, decides to throw the ball twice to Renfro in overtime, who fumbled it twice. Once it was recovered by the Raiders. Once it was a game winner. But all of this, when the Raiders just needed 6 yards, they were already in the Cardinals' half of the field. They just needed 6 yards to get a field goal to win. They just needed a field goal.
Oh, so I know this because my fantasy kicker is Carlson, the kicker.
Okay,
the kicker
and they have one of the best kickers in football.
Yeah.
So and they're playing at home, and you play to win at home, you lunatic, McDaniel. So why did he throw? And he threw twice more down the field, and they dropped the ball. Insanity ensued. Yeah. So he gives it back to Renfro after he just fumbled it. He fumbled it again, and they lose the game. This is what I call, weirdly, this was bad coaching and bad play calling and bad game management. So sorry, not sorry. This is the Raiders should have been 1-1, and they're not because of McDaniel, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was I was curious to see how McDaniel does because he's, in my opinion, and I'm trying not to keep this as a Patriots fan bias, but like in my opinion, he's just an offensive coordinator for the Patriots.
That's what it is.
He went to Denver years back, and it was.
What we looked at in the Dolphins, because McDaniel is also an offensive coordinator, a great one, but we have the greatest defensive coach from last season still there. He kept the defensive coaches from last season that were so good for Miami, so that was very smart. He didn't clean house just because it was ego or whatever.
Right.
So that was
which happens often.
Really good. Yes.
Man. So anyway, what a weekend of NFL
Tua.
football.
I'm sorry. I just say it every hour on the hour.
Tourette's.
Tua. And it just spontaneous. Just
Tourette's.
Spontaneous.
Tourette's. Tua Tourette's.
No, we have we have Tua Nation.
So in your whole recap of the Dolphins game and their comeback, basically the takeaway I took out of it was it sounds like Marco was the key.
Marco was the key. He was the optimist. He kept saying, he kept checking his phone and eating chips or whatever and guacamole, and he's like, "I told you." I'm like, "You don't understand. It's never happened." he's like, "Oh, that's a good play." I'm like, "Yeah, that's a good play." It was very funny. But it was kind of like the absurd, calm unawareness.
Right.
That made me be able to watch the game because I was just like literally like I at one point I just stopped like the last 8 minutes. I don't think I breathed exhaled. I was just holding my breath the entire time. And if you're a sports fan, if you're superstitious, if you cross your legs one way or you sit a certain way and things happen. So I was like, my hip was like about to go into like traction because I was like holding the pose that for 6 straight plays in that drive I told you from the 4-yard line. So I was like holding the pose the whole time because if I moved, it'd be bad luck. So I had to anyway, it was just everything that was, everything. I'm not a religious person, as you know, but I was just like, praying to whatever, deity was in front of me, Buddha, anything,
anything,
my cats, anything that was in front of me. I was just saying
that would be Egyptian, right?
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Anyway, the point is, so that was great. So that was the key to the Dolphins. Yeah.
We know we got a pretty firm grasp of what's happening in your football world. Let's get into RPF right now. Tell us what's happening. What's on your mind?
And everyone knows about my tennis thing. And I wasn't going to talk about tennis this week because it's a quiet week. It's the Davis Cup when all the nations play each other, and then they go into Laver Cup, which is like a great exhibition between Europe and the world, and all the European players play together. So for the first time ever, Roger Federer, Djokovic, Rafa Nadal, and Andy Murray, the big four from this era, are playing together on the same team for Team Europe. So that should be a lot of fun because they play doubles together and they coach each other. Cool. So it's a really fun thing to watch. It's a bit like the Ryder Cup, but this is and they play against they play against America and the world. So the European players play against. So it's going to be fun to watch. But the headline of the week in that world is that Roger Federer, who is he's retiring at the end of this week's Laver Cup.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He's won 20 Grand Slams. He's Rafael Nadal's greatest rival. But more importantly, he was tennis's answer to Baryshnikov. He was graceful and effortless and just beautiful just to watch. He was a great sportsman. He won the sportsmanship award every year. Him and Rafa Nadal went back and forth for years winning that award. He was a gentleman. He was a great representative of the sport. I've always said in a world full of boorish, me athletes, we could use plenty more of Roger Federer. I never hated him, and I tend to demonize the teams and the players I want to lose because my own teams or players are being prevented from winning because of them. And I never demonized him because he did it right. I mean, to watch him play tennis, to anyone who appreciates tennis, he literally he never got hurt until late in his career. He's 41 years old. Until he was 39, he didn't get hurt. He would just almost like float on air. He would play tennis as tennis was intended. If you didn't have body weight, you just kind of just levitated.
Yeah.
Beautiful stroke. Anyway, the point is he was just a joy to watch. He was a gentleman. He was always helping the sport. He was class act. And he never spoke ill of the other players. And anyway, he was exactly what a sportsman should be, in my opinion. And I think we're going to miss that type of, if tennis has a commissioner, I would vote for Roger every time because he is, he's beyond reproach. What Billie Jean King was for women in sports and tennis, I think Roger is very much that for men. And to lose Serena Williams and Roger within 2 weeks of each other.
Wow. Yeah.
It's hard to, it's not just athletes. That happens every day. These are true icons. And
sure.
And anyway, so I didn't want to go through a whole podcast and not mentioning that to give him that moment that he he richly deserves.
Absolutely. That very, very well, needs to be brought up. I didn't realize that. That's a big one. And any sport, you don't have to be a fan of this specific sport. As long as you're a fan of sports, you understand that when, an icon like that, an ambassador really steps away. I mean, it's
you can tell when other titans of sports follow you, like Nadal and Roger have that. They have Tiger Woods and they had Kobe Bryant and LeBron. They had all these other like-minded superstars in other sports, the soccer players, all of them. They all have this kind of like simpatico thing, knowing that they know they separate themselves from the others, and they all kind of have this rarefied air type of thing. And Roger and Rafa and Serena were the 3 players in tennis that had that type of adulation across sports and superstars.
Yeah.
So
that was actually one of my favorite scenes from the U.S. Open when Serena was playing was Tiger Woods, in the stand.
He was
and I just I remember
he sank the putt in the Masters.
The first time. The first time they panned to him, and he was, and I was like my immediate reaction was like, oh my God, like I want to be so awesome that Tiger Woods is cheering for me. Like imagine, like you have to be awesome for Tiger Woods to be out of his seat cheering for you, right? So I was like, wow.
And Djokovic has like Carrot Top or somebody. Anyway, so or some like or
oh my God, is that
some
guy still alive? Is it
what?
Carrot Top?
Carrot Top? Yeah. I have a story about Carrot Top, which I'll tell you later. I was actually at the what's it called at the Pyramid
Luxor.
Hotel one,
the
Luxor. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I was staying there for a conference, and they put me into the Tower Suites, which is like the nicer version of the Luxor, whatever. It's like an hour away from the front desk. These hotels are like forever.
Right.
Anyway, and I had to get up like really early to get the Uber to go to I was giving a presentation, so I had to get up early, and there enough there was. And as I walked out of my room at 6:30 in the morning to go into to get the 7:30 Uber an hour away in the lobby, I see the next room next to me. I see Carrot Top shirtless backing out of the room with his clothes in his hand. Like, it's so gross. He literally just he performs at the Luxor, and he apparently hooked up with some audience member. And he just, oh my God, it was like, I'm like, first of all, you don't need coffee in the morning if you see Carrot Top first thing at 6:30 in the morning. That is a rough terrain to look at. So anyway, I was like, I was kind of speechless, if you can imagine. I was just saying, okay, I did. So that happened. I checked that item off my bucket list to see Carrot Top in the morning.
Yeah, right. That's on everyone's bucket list, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, the Luxor, I did it all in one night. Stay in the Pyramid alive. And anyway, so that's my Carrot Top story. But yeah, so we're up to the lightning round.
We are up to the lightning round, my friend.
Oh, that's exciting.
Up to the lightning round. This week's edition of the lightning round, we have NFL teams. All right, so I'm going to give you 5 different teams, and you just tell me your first reaction. Are they trending up? Are they trending down? Are they staying right where they are?
Sure.
First one, the Detroit Lions.
I have a soft spot for them. They're like the Giants for me. I think they're one season away from being the Giants of next year. I think, and I like I like Dan Campbell, their coach. I think their coach has a chance to be in top 10 Coach of the Year discussions if they do anything. I like watching them on Thanksgiving, even when they're terrible. I just have this thing about Detroit, and the fans are so loyal, and they've been so heartsick. And they had Megatron, they had Sims, they had everybody, and they had Sanders, and they still couldn't win. And then, of course, their quarterback leaves one season and becomes a Super Bowl champion. So I have a soft spot for them. So anyway, yes, I think I'm going to say yes. I think Detroit will win those weird games with the Bears and some, they'll win enough games to cobble together some sort of exciting season.
Do you think they'll be exciting enough to the point where, like, down the stretch, the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they're like kind of right? They're kind of right there.
No, I think
for that last wild card spot.
I think Thanksgiving we say goodbye to the Lions' chances, but I think they'll be fun to watch. I think they have their heart in it. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they're fighting till the end. I mean, I always check their score. I always look to their scores to see how they're doing. And
I'll tell you what, their receiver there, Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, I mean, remember, they had Megatron, and you can't win Megatron. I mean, what do you do? I mean, so in fact, we just interviewed him, by the way, this is a good segue. This is the new issue of Cannabis Now. This
is a great segue into weed.
No, Megatron has a cannabis company. I
gotcha.
So anyway, so we just interviewed for our next issue. We're doing this whole thing on, and here, by the way, my story on the Bob Marley's family, including Rohan Marley, his son, and Nico Marley, his grandson. They're both former football players at the University of Miami, and also went on to play NFL and Canadian football. Anyway, cannabisnow.com. Okay, go ahead.
All right, next one. Next one. Steelers.
unpopular opinion. I think they're terrible. I think they're going to be a terrible team, and I think they're going to be literally, possibly 5-12.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think they're terrible.
I had this game against my Patriots. I had this game.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I didn't mean because of that. I mean
No, 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 no,
that
no,
I
no, no,
don't.
no, no,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. It's fine. It's fine. I'm RPF. I'm a realistic fan.
Okay.
I don't remember. I don't have my Patriots in the playoffs. I don't.
Well, yes. Well, yes, I know.
I had this game this weekend between the two of them as basically a death match for whoever loses, because if the Patriots go in and they lost, they'd be 0-2, and I'd be like, all right, like, who are we tanking for?
Right. Like who are people tanking for? What player is? Anyway, we'll think about that later. Yeah.
Not sure yet. I don't think we know yet.
It's too early to tell.
Yeah, but and then on the flip side of that, if the Patriots could go into Pittsburgh and beat you, like, we're not that good. Like, this isn't like, you shouldn't be losing to the Patriots at home if you're a good team, right? Like, if you fancy yourself a good quality team, I don't think you should be losing to us at home, especially Pittsburgh.
Like Miami didn't do that. Like Miami won at home when they played you.
They did. I give it to you. So that was, yeah. So I kind of, I'm with you on the Steelers there.
I think they're a bad team. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Next team, the Rams.
The Rams are little. Here's the thing that another controversial opinion. I think the Rams are worse than the Bengals. And they're going to be propped up by their kind of easier situation. I think they're going to be a playoff team. I don't think they'll go far. I think they're a first round. They're wild card round losing playoff team. But I think the coach is really good. They have obviously Cup. They have things that you can't shake that are still there. But I just don't think they have. I don't think they have the hunger. Frankly, they're not playing like they have the hunger. So I don't know. I think they're going to be a playoff team, but I don't think they'll go far.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I had them on here as a team of intrigue just because they lost their opener obviously to the Bills. We understand that, but they didn't look great. And then
but they lost badly. It wasn't like they lost. They lost like
right.
And then tell you if the Bills do that if they run the board with everybody that way, then we know it's the Bills. But if they, remember the Bills last year, inexplicably, what did they do? They lost to the Jaguars. So there's right. That. I still can't get over that. I'm still not over that.
That's
one,
right.
So.
But then I had them. They won this weekend, but it was against the Falcons, and man, it got close. Right. It was like,
that's what I'm saying. It was like a nail biter.
One of those games that was like all of a sudden I was like, what is happening? Like, why are you doing this?
They were like 31-17. All of a sudden became like 31-30 or something. It was like, what the hell?
Yeah. All right, next one, Cowboys.
This kind of like second string quarterback who came in again to save the day as he did last year against Washington. I don't know. He made some really bad decisions. I don't think they have a lot of playmakers that are stepping up. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I still look. They won at home, which they had to do, which is tremendous. I mean, I gave them props for that. I didn't think they had a chance for a while. I'm going to leave because if we can if they can get Dak back faster than they think, than 6 weeks, then they have a chance. The season has a chance. If they can just play 500 ball somehow until he gets back, then I think they'll be okay.
Okay. And then the last one, we have the Las Vegas Raiders.
Again, I don't think. Well, first of all, Devontae Adams is not in sync with his best friend. I mean, that's the weird part to me. That's been the biggest surprise to me in football in some ways, that how Derek Carr is not having two alike numbers with Tyreek. I don't know. I think they relied too much on memory, on muscle memory or something from college or something. Because it was a very weird. It's been almost foreign. They don't know what they're doing. They don't have that type of communication yet. Look, they had lack of preseason games. They had, it's been only 2 games. I think I'll tell you this, they're not in sync. So I don't know. I think the jury's out. I think that Devontae Adams has to have these monster games for them to be a real contender in the toughest division in football. I will say this, though. One thing I didn't mention about one last fun fact for me for the Dolphins before we go. I want to make sure that you know this.
Here we go. And we knew we couldn't end the show without one more.
In the history of football, there's only been one time it's happened where a quarterback has 6 touchdowns and 2 receivers have more than 140 yards. One time. Tua, Waddle, and Hill. That is kind of shocking considering there's Peyton Manning, there's Dan Marino, there's Dan Fouts, there's Wyatt Tittle, there's all these crazy people. So it's interesting. I'm not saying he's a gunslinger like that, obviously, but I'm just saying one more second, one more playmaker, and watch the ball fly. So I'm excited.
And there it is. We'll let RPF leave on that one. We will let him leave on the high note. My silver lining of the week is that with this comeback win for the Dolphins and your Super Bowl prediction that they would win the Super Bowl, now as the Super Bowl favorites and showing the ability to come back so well, we can no longer be surprised by any win they have for the rest of the season. So going forward, we don't have to celebrate their wins.
No,
because it's expected.
No. Except this week, we're playing Buffalo Bills, the scariest team in football. I mean, by anyone's standards.
They are frightening. Well, so
they're frightening. And they got better on defense. Oh my god!
So here's my reaction to. So the Dolphins came back and won, and I was like, admittedly, I was like, oh shit. And then I looked at the schedule and I was like, oh my gosh, they're playing the Bills next week. And then I watched the Bills game last night and I went, whoa, shit.
Something's got to give. Something's got to give.
Yeah.
It could be like 72.
Yeah.
72 in overtime.
Yeah, we got to figure out what the over or under is on that one.
You know, I'll say this: the X factor is this, as always, but the X factor could be very much the X man, Xavier Howard. If he can pick off 1 or 2 of Josh Allen's and have something disruptive there, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying it can happen. It's not out of the realm. So
right.
I don't know. You didn't see the game, but Xavier Howard was one fingernail away from doing a pick 6 against the Ravens to end the game before it had to go down to Tua. So he literally dropped the ball, which he never does. He picks it off everything. And so that was the tough part that never showed in the highlights because it's buried against all this other, fireworks. But it was actually, that was when I thought, oh shit, the Dolphins are not going to win because that was our one shot. We only get one shot each game to win. And Marco was eating chips saying, no, we got this. Don't worry. Based on nothing except his gut.
Lesson from today, Marco is the master. That's all the time we have for today's show. It's been fantastic. Again, you can catch us on your favorite podcast listening platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, all the good stuff. Again, if you're listening to us right now, you're probably listening on one of those platforms, so you already know that.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We're also on Instagram and Twitter, and if you're listening to us audibly, you can also watch us. Don't you want to see us? You can watch us on our own YouTube channel. Just head on over to YouTube, search Sports, of course, with Jonah and RPF. We'll pop right
I didn't show you this. My new mug. It says it's a dolphin mug with RPF on it.
Well, that's and on that note,
next week will be very different if the Bills play like the Bills have been playing. So, give me this 1 week of delirium.
I did. All right, we will see you next week.
Later, Jonah.
See you.